Hello. I can see myself on the screen. YouTube tells me that connection is excellent, so I believe we can start. Oh, I forgot to share with you link to the stream, but I believe you have actual link in your schedule. Could you please tell me whether you can hear me and see me? Is everything fine with connection? If yes, then we are good to go. Okay. So what do we have for today? Today we will review two solutions of tasks for this week, namely Simple CRUD API and basic testing. We will begin with Simple CRUD API. Regarding this message from Mikolai, I think that solution that we will see today is how most of you implemented this, but this is not correct way to implement it. But still, we will take a look and discuss it. Okay, so let's quickly review what you had to do. Your assignment was implement. Oh, sorry. Home library service is the wrong one. Your assignment was to implement a simple CRUD API. I just want to remind you that CRUD stands for create, read, update, delete operations. You had to implement this task using JavaScript or TypeScript with these dependencies. You could use it only those are eligible. You had to implement get, post, put, and delete methods handlers for these endpoints. Also, you had some other requirements like correctly handle request to non-existing endpoints and respond with not found code, correctly handle unexpected errors on server side during request processing, and respond with internal server error status code. Also, you had to implement getting your port value for application from .env file. Also, you had to implement two modes of running application: development and production. Development watches your code and reruns application using nodemon or ts node dev package using script npm and production mode, which builds your application using webpack or TypeScript, which also uses webpack under the hood, and after that runs bundled files. Also, you could implement some advanced scope like end-to-end tests for your API, at least 3 scenarios, and also you could implement horizontal scaling, which requires from you to create load balancer and worker instances of Node.js using cluster API. Amount of workers had to be available parallelism -1 on the host machine, and so on. So you already know the requirements. Let's take a look at the code. Okay, today we have a solution from student NT0x64. And yeah, we can see that we have a couple of scripts to run our application. For example, we have script for development mode, we have script for production mode, we have script for running scaled application, and also we have some scripts for running tests, build, lint, etc. We have dependencies. As far as I can see, it's okay. Now let's try to run our application in development mode. Oh, just in case, let's try to install dependencies. We should not forget about this. And let's run development mode. Sorry, npm run start dev. Okay, it should working on port 3000. Let me check how it works. Okay. Okay, we can see that at least we get proper status code. Let's probably try to get our data. Oh, it has to be API users, I believe. Okay, we've got empty result. Looks like it works. Okay, let's probably try to run production mode. What we can see is we built our application into this folder. By the way, it's a good practice to add this folder to git ignore, because we don't want to commit our dist and our build and put it into version control. Also, to be honest, I'm not sure why we need tests here, because tests is not something that is intended to use with build here. But okay, so we have all those JavaScript files transpiled from our application, and in TypeScript, and you can see that it still works the same way. Okay, let's also check whether we have actual value of port from .env. And let's try to use another port. 3001. Yes, we get this result. And if we will try to request to the old port, we will see that it doesn't work on this port anymore. Okay, seems like this was okay. But I have one concern regarding this .env file, because it's a good practice to exclude .env from Git working area as well. So you should have .env.example instead. .env.example file, which is actually in Git working directory, and it's committed. Here you will provide examples of environment variables, and your user will need to create an actual .env file from this .env.example before running application. Because if you will not exclude .env, often this file contains some sensitive information like API keys, passwords, some configuration details, and so on. It may contain some details that you need to run your application that you don't want to expose to GitHub. So guys, don't forget to add the .env, because many passwords and API keys leaked. It's constantly. There are some scratches on GitHub that constantly search for such leaks and steal those keys. So don't forget about it. It's important. Okay. That's about running application in development mode and in production mode. Let's probably try to handle unexpected error. For example, I will add here. Okay, to be honest, we have a lot of unnecessary complexity here, but okay, let's try to throw some error inside of handling request. It tells us, oops, something went wrong. Okay, by the way, we can see that development mode works correctly because we restarted our server. Our host port was still 3001. Okay, let's try to get some users. And we can see that status is internal server error and this message is in response body. Okay, looks like it works. Let's remove line with error and take a look at our application. Development mode runs our application using src using app file in src folder as an entry point. What do we have here? Here we instantiate a database for our server. Then we run server with provision of our database. And yes, we listen on corresponding port. Okay, let's take a look at what is our server. Our server is a class which contains a router and which receives a database on initialization, and then it uses router build on database. It has run method which handles request with provisioning it to router class, and if it contains error, then it's passed to server error method, which sends internal server error code with corresponding message. Okay. To be honest, I have concern about naming because we are handling server error here. So for me, it looks like it should be named handle server error. Let's probably rename it then, because naming is very important. Let's dive deeply into our implementation and take a look at router. What is it? Here, student tried to implement some abstract over routing functionality because here we could provide a lot of controllers for different instances, but to be honest, from my point of view, it looks like unnecessary complexity here because, well, you have only one entity that needs to be provisioned with corresponding endpoints, and probably you don't need this complexity for other controllers. When you will need it, you can add it. That's it. You don't need to overcomplicate your code. Also, this method could have better name. It's not just handle. It should be like handle request. And also, for me, it seems that this method should be wrapped in promise, which resolves on for example, request end method. Because this code is asynchronous, but it has a synchronous signature, and I prefer asynchronous stuff to be explicitly marked as asynchronous. You can await it. You know it has a predictable flow because okay, it does some asynchronous stuff. It resolves returns promise. Promise is resolved or rejected. When you await it, you have value or error. You can try it. You can catch it using try catch block. So this is really better, and it doesn't require this nested stuff. Okay, so what this method does, it sets header for content type, it reads data, and passes data to internal handler method proceed. If error happens, then we emit error, which code here. Just in case if you forgot, here we have subscription on error event, and here we emit it. It's code at upper level. Okay, what do we have here? We initialize result variable. If we have request method, by the way, I'm curious what the situation when request method is undefined, because you shouldn't, from my point of view, take care of such situations. You will always have a request method. So this if looks really unnecessary. And also, as I mentioned, we have only one controller, so I believe we don't need to iterate over all controllers if we have only one. Also, we have this conditional access to properties from recent versions of JavaScript. Not really recent, like it's from ES 2015, I believe, or a little bit later, but for me it looks like we could just use conditional access on URL property of request and on starts with property of URL, and that's basically it. And once again, I don't understand what is the case when we received request without URL. I don't know about such situation really. Okay, then we try to split our URL by parameters. By the way, we have a nice thing. We have a URL class, for example. Sorry, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it has different signature, but okay. Anyway, Node.js has. Let me briefly check documentation. If I remember correctly, it was located in utilities module, or it was global. It's here. Yes. So you can create a URL using URL module, which allows you to extract some URL parts very conveniently. You can extract host, you can extract origin, you can extract name, and so on. Not sure it was to use it in our specific case, but anyway, when you will need parse when you will need to parse URL and extract some fragments, you should remember that you have this functionality, and you don't need to parse it manually, just a regular string. I will share the link here. Okay. Then we set result. It refers to controller proceed, request methods, data params, Okay, looks really complicated because layer structure is fine, but we have some these classes, they are connected really tight. So probably layer structure means that you should have you should have different levels of abstraction with everyone with each own responsibilities and logic. And here it looks like we are only providing our logic deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. We have a lot of layers. It's hard to understand where which part of functionality works. So yeah, it should it should be really easier. Yes, and probably we don't need to check if result is null, because if we don't set result here, it's null initially. So we probably could just set this result. Okay, or maybe we should. Anyway, here we handle situation when we didn't found corresponding controller, and we respond with not found status code. Here we set status code, and then we write result and message. By the way, this naming is really weird. Result.result. Try to avoid such things. And also, I don't understand why do we need this typecast here. Because this is not a result. It's partial controller response, I think. Okay, anyway, you should write proper logic instead of just using typecasts. Using typecast is it should be rare case when you really need to establish connection between your application and some not good typed library, or you can see according to the logic that this type is for sure correct, but TypeScript doesn't know about it, but this is not a valid case. Yeah. Okay. We can see that we have something called controllers provider, which receives us controllers, and we provide database to it. By the way, simple and good rule for code quality and for development generally: if you don't use some code, if it's commented, it should be removed. We don't need it. Okay, what does controllers provide class? It provides us controllers, and for each controller it. Oh my god, another level of nesting. For each controller from controller config, it creates controller model using another class, and writes it to controller model and returns controllers then. And here we have default export of this controllers provide. But okay, this is not controllers provide. This is controllers provider. If you want to use, as far as I understand, you try to implement something like dependency injection, right? But really, it looks overcomplicated, and these abstractions are not necessary here, really. Try to use more simple and inline logic. Simple things should be should be done in easy way, from my point of view. And by the way, we don't need this variable here. We could just export this because we don't reuse it anywhere. Oh, what is Scratch for Webpack? I don't get it. Probably there were some build issues. I'm not sure, but anyway. We have some interfaces here. By the way, such modules that contains types definition, usually named similarly easily like types.ts. That's it, or constants.ts. We have here controller response, which provides us a set of status codes, but from my point of view, it should be just number, or if you need more controls over types, you could probably create enum with status codes. For example, enum status codes, and here we could create some status codes and use it like this. And by the way, you could be able to use this enum. Let's export it. And instead of using these magic numbers, you could use status codes not found. It's more readable and will help you to avoid errors when you will print wrong number at the end. For example, you will use 201 instead of 200s, or 202 instead of 201, something like this. Yeah, and enums for these cases are better. By the way, enum members usually should be in Pascal case. Probably for request methods, it's fine. I've seen such stuff often, but just to remind you that usually enum members are in Pascal case. And also controller interface. Why do we need to know that this is interface? We can see it from its signature, right? So it should be just a controller, not controller interface. For example, we could add a controller response type here, but why do we need type if we know it's type? And also, good practice is to have consistent type usage. And I believe you don't need both. I mean, you could use either types or interface. You don't need to mix it. And also, you don't need to mix default and named exports. From my personal point of view, it's better to use named exports, because you import only explicitly what you need. You have this nice highlight of imported stuff by your code snippets extensions. It suggests you better what you import and auto-completes your imports, so it's really better. But definitely not mix it. Okay, let's take a look at user controllers that is used by controller provider. What it does, it has root property, which is API users. It's instantiated in line here. Also, it can accept database. Here we have proceed method with which tries to map request method to methods of our to methods of our class. Why so much abstractions? Why can't it be just if method is get, then call handle get. If method is post, then call handle post. Why do I need to take a look at all these layers and guess what is inside handler, what is here? I need to have all this stuff in my head. It's really complex, you know. Okay, so we call this handler here. We bind it to this in order to avoid context loss. Also, if we have some error during processing of request, we respond with bad request status code, which is, I believe, not correct, because if we will have error inside of our handlers, we will get bad request status code. Let's probably check it. Throw new error. Why method is not implemented? Copilot's suggestions are sometimes funny. Oops. Once again. Undefined is not assignable. La la la. Controller. Oh, okay. Let's probably try to run production version if it will build fine. Okay. Let's probably do it conditionally. Okay, now we have here random error, and let's try to get users. We don't have our server anymore. Okay. Okay. We are lucky enough, yeah. And you can see that we have bad request response, which is not correct, because this is internal server error, but we handled it here, that it led to bad request status code. And also, we should know our errors. So this guessing, like if error is error, then try to extract message, otherwise check that error is instance of string. By the way, it's not correct, because you should compare to string type. So if you really need to check that value is of some type, you need to use type of type guard here. So correct version is type of error equal to string. Then you can see that you have proper highlighting. And then if we can see that error is not a string, we cast it to string. Why? I don't understand. Okay, how to do it correctly? You should have your custom errors. Then you need to check in catch block whether your error is instance of your custom error. If it's our error, then we know what happened and we know how to handle it. Otherwise, we should throw it. So we hadn't just return it. Probably if we will throw error, response. Okay, it will not help here. I'm not really sure that we need this handler here, because we had to have just some initial validation of some initial checks for our params. I I believe we had something like this, but probably we had to throw some validation error from level below, because just to remind you, we are on controller level. We should have service and throw this error there and catch it here, check if it's custom error that refers us to invalid input. Then we need to return bad response, bad request response, and probably it's not even service level service layer level, because okay, we can validate all our parameters initially. We don't need to send request for data to service if we can see on controller level that our parameters are not valid. So probably it has to be done here, but stuff like this, it's not what we need. And once again, tons of typecasts, please use different types instead of this. You should try to avoid as much typecast as possible. Okay, this handle get. We have some empty object which is obviously not used anywhere. It looks weird. And once again, this is reason why we don't need such abstractions, because here we try to implement a universal interface that provides data as first argument and parameters as second, but we don't need data here, which means that our universal interface has some redundancy and weird syntax. It shouldn't be like that. Also, you can install some extension. It's named code spell checker, which actually highlights to me such syntax errors like this one. So it's easy, you can avoid it. So it shouldn't be okay. It should be response and it should be named correctly. And also, it's better not to try to reuse existing object and add new properties to it, because it's really small. It's better to return whole object in all the cases that you need. Okay, here we try to get all users from database if we don't have user ID. Otherwise, we try to get specific user ID. If we don't have data, then we set not found status code and message. Otherwise, we set user data result. Then we return this response. If we try to create user, then we try to create user model, and then we push it to database. And then we send newly created user with created response. And also spell checker will help us here as well. You can see it highlights errors. Very useful thing. To be honest, I don't see real validation here. We just get first parameter. We don't care what it is. Actually, we don't even check its presence before passing request to database. From my point of view, we could check that this parameter exists and that this is UUID. You have validate method in UUID object, just in case. If no data, return not found with corresponding message. Otherwise, we try to create user module, user data and data. By the way, let's check one interesting thing. I can see that we have here simple merge of objects. Let's check whether we will be able to rewrite. Does not contain mandatory fields or has invalid type. Let's see what's wrong. It's JSON. Interesting. What is wrong with our object? We have name, age and hobbies. Why doesn't it works? Handle post. Let's check. Username. As far as I remember, we had... okay, I'm wrong. It has to be username, not name. My mistake. Okay. Username. Okay, we created this object. Then let's try to get ID of user. Try to use put. And let's try to override ID. It works. So now we have a user with my awesome ID. It was mentioned in task requirements that ID should be server generated and it shouldn't be available for overriding, right? Now we have this fancy user. Identifier parameter is not correct. But it was correct enough to create this user. We don't really override it, but we return incorrect response. So anyway, it's not working correctly. It's misleading. Okay. Where we were before we moved forward. Okay, we have also handler for deletion. Here, once again, we try to get user. If user exists, then we try to delete it. If user doesn't exist, we return status codes not found. It would be better, by the way, to wrap these errors into custom errors. What do I mean? How it may look like. We can get we can have such error which is just like regular error, but it contains code property, and we can extract code on handling such errors, and we don't need to make those returns. We can catch it at upper level and check whether we have data or we have error and send corresponding response. I think you've got the idea. Okay. Let's take a look at the database exception. This is our custom error with a predefined message, but we can provide our own. Okay. Model exception and model error fields. Okay, first of all, your custom errors should follow certain pattern for naming. It shouldn't be database error ID. Proper names is database ID error. It should has error on the end of the name, and same here. Model fields error or validation error. Okay, let's take a look at our database. Here we have type UUID, which was intentioned to be used for, I don't know, more strictness on UUID, but if you will take a look at the types, you will see that it just returns you string. So this doesn't help. When you say that key should be UUID, you will just, it's just alias for string type. It will not add you any strictness. For example, okay, UID. For example, I will have variable ABC, which is UID, right? And here I can write whatever I want. TypeScript doesn't complain, but this is not UUID. As a first approach, you can use something similar like this. At least it will provide you some basic limitations. Or you can use advanced types from some libraries, which provides very strict definition for types. It will check that all these fragments here is only what is allowed inside UID. So use strict type or just use string. Don't use this return type. Okay, we can provide data here. As I've seen, we've never called database with data, and that's why I left this comment. But actually, when I took a look at cluster mod, I've seen that we use it in cluster. We use some specific way of sharing data between our servers, and that's why we need it here. But anyway, that's not how it's expected to work. Again, we create here typecast. Try to avoid typecasts. So this method is responsible for creation of our user. We create ID, then we add ID to the model we override even if it was provided, but it should be validated at this stage. And also we set it to data by ID. Then we return this model. Model actually is our newly created user. Why not just user, why model or user model? We have delete method. So here we have check ID, which throws error if it's not valid. From my point of view, it had to be done on controller level. Okay, if we have this ID, then we delete it from object, otherwise we return false. Does delete operation returns boolean? I didn't know about that, to be honest. But TypeScript doesn't complain. Okay, anyway, if data ID is not defined, we will not delete it. So why do we need to check for ID here initially? Looks like it's not necessary. Also, update usually returns a newly created object and not just Boolean flag, because I've seen that we use this data somehow. Also, I don't understand what is this. If we have record corresponding with ID in data dictionary, then we have this true and this data ID equal to row plus ID not equal to undefined. Why do we need this true here? What it changes? And also, I'm not even sure what it returns, because here we have assignment to the property of object, and check this that this is not equal to undefined. Weird, really weird. Not sure how it works, but I assume that maybe Anton has experience in different programming languages that uses such patterns chaining, but it's not how stuff should be done in JavaScript or TypeScript. Looks like something alien to this language. Okay. We have method get, which gets data from, which tries to retrieve data by ID from object. Here we have check for ID, but we will not simply have data. We could probably check on controller level that, okay, if we have data, then return response okay with data. If we don't have data, then respond with not found. Probably this check ID is redundant. Also, for better semantics, we should name it as get all instead of just all. Also, we have this merge method, which usage we will take a look at later, and we have check ID that we've already seen. Okay, we have here custom exceptions. We have here some fields map, which used for validation, has required fields, const key of object keys, la 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 la, object has properties, switch params type. Oh, why it's so complex? We even have recursive calls here. We don't need such complex abstractions, okay? You have only three properties. One of them is string and required. One of them is number and required. One of them is array of strings or empty array. Why can't you have just a simple check? Check that username is provided. Check that it's string. Check that age is provided. Check that it's number. Check that hobby is provided. And check that it contains only strings or doesn't contain anything. That's it. 3 lines of code. Why do we need all of this? It's I can't even understand what happens here, to be honest, and I don't want to. It's really complex, and we don't need stuff like this. When you will need complex validation, you will use a library for this. You don't need to write such stuff on your own. So yeah, we assume that it works because it's thrown some errors, but I'm not sure, to be honest. And usually such complex and redundant code, it contains a lot of bugs. I'm pretty sure that there are a couple of ways to break it. Yeah, and also case array, if our object item is not instance of array, return true. What it means? I don't understand. And also same stuff as typecasts. You should avoid usage of any, because any silences TypeScript just as you do when you use TypeScript disabling comment, which is ts ignore. So please avoid usage of any as much as possible. even better have to have typecast, but it's better not to have any at all. At least in your application code, but even in tests, it's better to have a deep typecast, like something is as unknown as your type. This is better than any. Because with any, you don't really know what's inside. And you will not, and when you will use this code, you will not know at each stages of usage for this code. But by the way, here we have good idea is to it allows us to use type guard, which means that if our check passed, then our object is T. By the way, it should be unknown here, I believe. Nope. Okay. So probably we had to use some generic interface like record, string, and then number. Forget about it. This is the cost of such abstractions, because we know for sure all our fields. We know for sure its types. If we just used plain type here, then we could say for sure that we could just put it here and use it here without this any or typecasts, but it was not done. Okay, I will take a look at the chat. Maybe you have some questions. Should cases localhost? Sorry, why do you use such weird slashers? This is not how we write URLs. Please use correct slashes, not backslashes. Nope. It's different URLs with slash on the end and without slash on the end. It shouldn't be handled such way. Yeah. Shouldn't status code num be singular instead of plural? What is better? To be honest, I've seen singular and plural. I don't have a strong opinion on it. Probably it depends on your local agreements. Why not nullish less assignment? Because it's also not very readable. Personally, I would like to suggest you to avoid usage of let, and you won't need to reassign variables, and you will not have this problem. Okay, so we are finally here. We reached cluster running of server. So what do we have here? This branch is responsible for running master process, and this branch is responsible for worker. So what are we doing here? We try to get cluster port value or use. It will never work. Yes, it will never work. Okay, let's try to remove cluster port from the .env, and let's try to log it into console. Cluster port, not a number. Why? Because we have here string or undefined. What we will get if we will try to use parse int with string, we will get not a number. You can see it using not int. Not a number is type of number, and this operator requires null or undefined on the left side, so the right side of expression will never work. Sad but true. Okay, let's try to return cluster port here, but default value is not working. Okay, then we get amount of available workers. Here we use available parallelism API from OS module. Then we create database on master process. That's why we need this creation of database from provision data. I was curious why do we need it, but by the way, we don't need to use template string here. We don't have any injected variables. It could be just regular string. You don't need to use it like that. Okay. Then we iterate over available workers. We have amount of iterations equal to available workers. We calculate cluster port. Then we use cluster API, namely fork method, which establishes inter-process communication channel, and we provide a host port variable here. Then we do some console logs. Then we send whole database. Just imagine we send whole database to the worker, and here we have oh, it looks like we have duplicated workers. If some worker will fail, then we immediately create another. But I believe it should be managed centrally somehow, not just like a worker on exit create new worker. It may lead if you will have some severe error, it may lead to eternal loop, because your workers will be always dying, then created, then again dying, then again created, and your machine will die as well. So probably we need to have some reasonable amount of retries, but not just like this. Okay, so your main process, when it receives message, we know which worker sent message, and we have data from worker, which is worker database. Why is it object if we know that it's database? No. Database. Okay, I'm not sure what has to be here. Some keys. Another complication. It shouldn't be. Don't use types like object, any, something like this. It's too generic. It doesn't gives you real knowledge what is inside your variable. Object, it can be anything. Okay. Worker database as database any. Okay. So here we merge database, which is master database. It's very important for you. Just try to focus to understand what's happening here. We subscribed on event message on master process here. When it happens, it means that one of our workers sent our send to us some message with data. We merge our master database, which is created on load balancer level, with worker database in message, and then we send this updated database to all the workers. So you just can imagine how many data should go across the web. You can have very big database. It can contain thousands, even millions of records. So just, oh my god. You receive whole database on your master process, then you merge one database with another, and then you send whole database to all your workers. In real world, it will crash everything. So I believe most of you done something like this because it was like easiest way to implement functional requirements, but I think I need to restrict you from using such solution because it's not how it should work. Okay, what else do we have here? We have here cluster server, which uses worker index, and it actually request. What is request? Request is HTTP request. We send request to workers. Also, we use, for some reason, we use callback signature here, so our response from worker is inside of this callback. So if we log here stuff, then we pipe response from worker, which is actually request for us. Yeah, you understand. We send stuff using response to worker, then we receive response from worker, which is incoming request for us, and then we pipe it to our response. Then we have we pipe request to request of master process to request to worker. Then we have finish on request successful handling, and we have error handling here as well. And also we run cluster server listen. It's listening on main port. That's all about workers creations and listening to the messages. I would do it more inline, like create one server, send HTTP request to another server, not this events handling. It's complicated. It's really complicated. I would use just regular HTTP communication using requests. Okay. Here we, once again, code is not used, it should be removed. Here we create our worker, we calculate host port. This one will not work again. As I mentioned, we create database here. It's a workers database. We create server, we run server, and we listen to messages. How do we do it? We have a message event on process, we subscribe to it, and we receive message. I remind you that we send database from parent process to child processes, and we merge this database, and that's basically it. Then it works just like a regular server. Can you put big overhead? Yes, big overhead, big unnecessary overhead. It's fragile, it's complicated, it has a lot of unnecessary layers. It works, but guys, please don't overcomplicate things. Simple things should be done simple. You will be lost in your abstractions, and you can see that it's buggy. Yeah, it doesn't work as it should. Anyway, if you have errors, if you don't have guards from such situations, why do you need this complexity? You don't need it. Okay, so what I meant when I told you that you probably should oh my god. Mm. That you probably shouldn't use such a solution like this one. The proper solution was to implement it like it will be in real world. So you have some database which is on your master server, or it's some serverless database like, I don't know, Amazon DynamoDB or RDS with Postgres, you name it. It doesn't matter. So you have separated instance with which manages your storage, and you have clients that needs to connect to this storage and get data from it. And also, if you need to update something, you update it on this storage level. I thought about something like you create a separated process which contains your in-memory database and which is able to receive requests from your workers and from main process, for example. But no, I'm not correct. We needed to be able to receive requests only from your workers. So this database will be in charge of be single source of truth for all the workers. That's how we establish data consistency, and in this case, you will not have this duplication of data and unnecessary sending it back and forth in order to establish consistency. So it has to be implemented something like this. You could create a separated server for database. Why not? This could be another piece of code which manages database and receives request and response. It could be, it could work using HTTP request. It could work using inter-process communication channel. Yes, you could use this parent port, process send, process on message, you name it, but not like that. Okay, let's take a look at the tests. It should be unit tests. Here we have valid and invalid bodies. We expect some responses. For some reason we mock a database service, then we unmock it. I don't know why do we need it. It shouldn't work that way. For some reason we create database twice, one for server, one for controller. Weird. I have concerns about test case titles, because it should be like should get all records and response with and respond using underlying API, la la la. If when not from uppercase letter, and should follow this pattern. Get not existed user, add new valid user, get existed user. As far as I understand, user implemented test suite that I proposed in task requirements. Delete existed user, update user, invalid requests. Okay, here we check for validation, for invalid requests, and for valid request. Looks fine, except probably naming. But we check for status code, we check for response. I would like to be more specific here because we don't expect just property message. We expect specific message. So if you know, if you already know here which message you expect, then you should check for expected message from my point of view, because maybe you have bug and you have wrong message here. I believe we check all the stuff. Overall, this work could be not so bad if it was not overcomplicated. Guys, avoid unnecessary complexity. Follow KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. Which means that if something does simple things, it should be done in easy way. Okay, let's take a look. If you have some questions about this task, synchronize database. No. Your load balancer is responsible for spreading your requests among workers. It doesn't have to be responsible for your database management. It may, but for me it looks like we try to put two different entities in one. You could create separated stuff for database management. Create some API that receives requests and return response and manages database. That's it. It could be a separated child process if you like inter-process communications. Nope, this is not correct. Correct is you have your master process or load balancer. You have your workers. For example, we have 3 workers. You have your database. Let's place it here. You have your user, which will send requests to load balancer. Load balancer will send request to workers. Workers will go to database and they will receive some response from it. This worker does pretty same stuff. Oh, sorry, this one should be from database. And then all your workers should respond to load balancer. All of this is request. I believe you understand that this is just not to create 3 separated arrows here. And all your workers respond to your load balancer, and load balancer returns this response to user. That's how I expected it to work. What we can see here, load balancer doesn't know anything about database. It shouldn't be in charge of database. It shouldn't contain database. All workers use same database. And we don't need to send this data across the workers. I will just share with you this screenshot. Maybe I will save as XML. Okay, I will just make a screenshot and share it with you. This is one of the options how it could implement it. Obviously, database is not just database. This is some API, maybe server, maybe a child process, something like this. Yes, and this array is on database. It's here. This is how it works in real world. It can be even more complex. We can have a scalable database, but this is a simple schema that will work. You shouldn't resend all your database stuff across all your workers. Okay, guys, it seems that we are unfortunately out of time. We will not be able to review a single task. Yeah, you're welcome. By the way, I'm not good at diagrams and architectural things, but I know some basics. How this works to any ports? Easily, your load balancer will send data to worker, which will work on different ports. They are separated instances. Each of them will respond to load balancer, which is on main port, and load balancer proxies this data to user. Okay, guys, what I wanted to say is that we don't have time for reviewing of basic testing, unfortunately, but you can check out video from previous iteration, of course, because task was not changed from this time. So I will share you. With. Sorry. I'm talking too much and too long. I will provide you with the link to the review. Because it's the same task. I plan to review solution of the student. I already picked up one, but we do not have time for this. Okay, sorry, I will answer question. Should solution when we broadcast while it be work be penalized? No. We check only functional criteria. If data is synchronized across workers, it's fine. I believe that like 60 or 70% of solutions, or even 80, will be like that one. So okay, you implemented it how you thought about it, how you knew how it can be done. Okay, it's up to you. I just highlighted to you disadvantages of such solution and have shown how it can be implemented different way. Okay, unfortunately, your next task is Battleship. Unfortunately, Andrei, who owns this task, is very busy at the moment. He's overloaded with the work, and he will be able to make task issuance for you only on Thursday. But this task is not changed a lot from previous iteration, and once again you can take a look at previous iteration task issuance, just to get yourself familiar with this task. It will about WebSockets. It's pretty interesting. It has cool front end with good graphics. By the way, this front end was created by students of JavaScript front-end course. We just asked them to provide us with front-end, and we create a task to write WebSockets backend for it. I think it's very nice. Yeah. So guys, thank you for your solutions, for your activities. Try to do your best. I believe you will be able to finish the course successfully. That's it from my side. Thank you for coming, and have a nice rest of the day, evening, and so on. Bye bye.